you for having me. Hi, everybody, and it's a very good morning from me. Yes, it is rather early here. I'll just share my screen. Whoops, it was sharing and then it's changed. So actually, that is a great segue for me to follow on from. Whoops, I just lost my screen. Slideshow from beginning. Right, hopefully you can see my slides. Fantastic. So what a great segue from the last two speakers where we talked on the need to measure finance emissions and then the difficulty on that, on being transparent, on accessing data, measuring what matters, and particularly John used that well-used word of greenwashing. And that's why we started Generate Zero, that we have to measure what matters, and that's where we can then take action. And, this is one of those things that everybody thinks somebody else should be doing. And I love this quote that I'm sure resonates with all of you and is why you're all here in the room. It's why I'm awake at 7 a.m. to speak to you a little bit earlier, that everyone thinks someone else will do this and someone else will fix this. But actually, it's up to all of us. So as a data and tech entrepreneur, coming up with solutions for very complicated problems is the only way that we can make a big difference to close the gap, which is continuing to increase. And certainly everybody recognizes the need to generate zero and to reduce their carbon emissions. But particularly for large organizations, how do you do this when your data is in silos and you actually are wanting to deliver to your customers' expectations, your regulators' expectations, but you actually haven't got the data and you don't have any way to bring it all together? And this was very much a big problem in New Zealand. Our regulator did mandate finance emissions measurement, and certainly our large organizations, banks and insurers were struggling to do that. Data isn't sitting there all nicely. A lot of the data wasn't captured, and to bring it together was a very manual process for carbon certification. So while we had a government arm called Toitu to validate and certify, the preparation of all that reporting was an incredibly manual process. And so actually solving the measurement challenge is what we're doing, which is very exciting. So bringing together fragmented activity and solving those scope 3 challenges through the value chain end to end with bespoke solutions, and then actually using AI to go in and pull different data from different silos and bringing it together in interactive AI and machine learning dashboards that enable you to drive them with self-analytics and deliver your reporting, but importantly, that are auditable so that all the data that creates that output is accessible to the auditors. And we know that this is going to continue to evolve and continue to be a requirement because we just have to. And then it's one thing knowing your carbon emissions. How do you actually have the pathway to reduction? So being at COP28, being at New York Climate Week, it's wonderful to see everybody with these goals. But we all know without a plan, we're not going to get there. And the beauty of data is it can create the map. And the beauty of AI and machine learning is it can create the scenarios for you to test out and then really roll this out as an organizational process very transparently, very measurably, and enable you to track your progress. And so it means that you can tell your team how you're going and where you're at on your journey. It automates data capture, so everything from your footprint to the ingestion of your energy data, your own consumption, your people data, and how they're traveling, and through to scope 3, where we white label for data capture of customers and their suppliers. Easy tools that enable them to put and connect through. And so because it's platform data integration, it can bring through all these disparate data sets. And while offsets are very important, and I've no doubt it's been a topic today, we are staying out of that at the moment and very much focusing on reduction. So what is your carbon emissions and how do you reduce it? And so while you may be offsetting, and that is great, our focus is science-based, aligned with global standards, allowing companies to measure, monitor, and reduce, which is a game changer for making the biggest difference of reducing carbon emissions. And then importantly, benchmarking and sharing those results across industries. And this is the magic of collaboration, and it is the magic of data and technology. So when we say benchmarking, no one's sharing individual data, but the models, the more participants you have, the more the model learns. And in New Zealand, we now have multiple banks and multiple insurers in platform, and we're able to benchmark, and banks are able to see, well, how are others reducing, and how can I learn from that to accelerate my journey, making it a data-driven approach. And so the methodology is now actually live, and it's been incredibly exciting. We launched just April last year, and the adoption of 12 of New Zealand's largest insurers, government, and banks has meant we have a really strong model that can now has already expanded into Australia, the Pacifica, and most recently now currently in the ASEAN region. And so it's very, very global methodology, which is exciting because no one has any excuses as to why they can't do this. The customer reduction tools are very important to accelerate decarbonisation. And so large organisations, as the last two speakers spoke about, need to also have digital tools that are easy for their end customers and that are incentivising their end customers to collect their data to deliver Scope 3 and Scope 4. And so it's acceleration through common data models and methodologies, which sounds very geeky. And it also is doing this across every asset class. So we've built the model, and the model learns across all 15 asset classes and portfolios. And so this is live, it's been tested, it's been validated, it's been audited, and it was incredibly challenging to do and get right. But now that it's here, it means we can really accelerate the reduction to generate zero, which is incredibly exciting. And the hard part was measuring and bringing that together accurately. But then the most important part and the most impactful part is accelerating decarbonisation. And that is where the latest model that we built that got validated is very much this reduction plan, where it's in the module which supports the reduction scenario. So you can actually use drag and drops in scenario and say, well, actually, how do I reduce? If I do these certain things, when will I get there? If I'm adding on more people, if I'm adding on more fleets, what does that look like? And it's all auditable and verified, which is really, really important for regulators to be able to see. It can't be black box, so you can use AI to come up with a model, but obviously we need to know what data comprise that. And which makes it incredibly powerful to actually be able to reach those targets that everybody's setting, that everybody wants to get to. And so it's not about measuring once a year when you have to do your audit reports. It's tracking on how you're going. It's sharing this culturally and organizationally and giving access to everybody. And that participation, bottom up and top down, fuels change. And that is necessary for any change. And so bringing it and making it visible with actual data that's understandable in visual graphs becomes incredibly powerful. So no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And no longer is it viable for organizations to say, but we don't have the data, but we don't have the models, but it's too hard, but we don't know how, because technology and data can solve these problems as they do. And our message to certainly corporates and large organizations is it's not too late. It's too late to not start. And, we really... this is easy. It's actually been really fast. If you're thinking, well, how soon and how long does it take for a large bank to actually be live? It's really less than 3 months. So it's incredibly fast. And all of them, we're talking about multiple asset classes, multiple silos. Then I guess that is the power of AI and the power of a digital platform that's tested and modeled and validated, is that this becomes very, very fast. And as I say, we've only launched 12 months ago, and the momentum and the adoption has been phenomenal. And so it's really great to see that regulatory change can push change. And then when you bring entrepreneurs and then you bring, the scientists to validate those entrepreneurs, and Toy2 did spend many, many, many months validating our model. And so then it all comes together, and that's how we deliver solutions, which is what this is all about. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carmen. And really exciting to see how a change in legislation can drive new business opportunity in a race to the top. And Carmen's very modest, but she didn't say she's also been talking to people in India and Singapore and Dubai. And great to see, Carmen, that even though the Securities Exchange Commission wimped out due to political pressure, the EU did pass good legislation. So hopefully that will spur not too many competitors, but will really spur the growth of your business. Does anyone have questions on these last couple of, yes, Walter?
Yeah, but I should have said my details are on LinkedIn, or Amanda Ellis also has them